Lemonada.
Welcome to Worth It for the Minnesota Star Tribune. I'm Nicole Northfleet. Each week on the show, we share the happenings around Minnesota that we think are worth your time, your attention, and your money. Today on the show, we'll talk with two people whose job it was to capture the scene at the Annunciation school last week. A hit show about teenage love is capturing the hearts of people of all ages. We'll find out why adults are so into young adult romance. And we're talking to Jon Bream about spending the last 50 years with some of the world's most famous musicians. But before I get to that, I just need to tell you, this is my favorite time of year. I don't know if you've been looking around your neighborhoods, but just a little hint of red and yellow starting on the trees right now. And I know a lot of people are really into summer here. Fall is where it's at. Fall is the best season here in Minnesota. No doubt. You can fight me. You can fight me about this. I just love it when it starts to cool down just a little bit. I don't have to have the AC on the whole time because I just know that means that I'm going to be able to go paddling. I'm going to be able to have campfires. I'm going to be able to wear my flannels. I'm going to be able to go apple picking. I just love the fall here in the Twin Cities and Minnesota in general. That's also the time that's the best time to go camping. There's no mosquitoes. It's just perfect. I just want to just relax, get a book, and maybe have a pumpkin spice latte or apple cider. So I'm very excited about it. All right, let's get into it. Our first conversation is with two photographers here at the Minnesota Star Tribune. Many of us are still thinking about the shooting at Annunciation Church last week. One of the powerful things from this tragedy that has stuck with many of us are the images captured by our photographers. Rich Song Tatari and Liz Flores are both photographers for the Star Tribune, and they were both on the ground at Annunciation Catholic Church and School after the shooting last Wednesday. They're with me now. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Rich, let's start with one of your photos that I think really captured the scene. You took a picture of a mom that was just running without her shoes. She's just running down the street. You see the back of her body. You don't know where she's going exactly, but you know that she's going towards danger and possibly to hopefully find her child. Tell me the story behind that picture.
After being on the scene near the south side of the entrance, we're told by police to back off a little bit. But there were still parents arriving, having been notified to get their kids. I noticed this woman who was already running towards the school with her sandals on, but she couldn't negotiate it fast enough to get there in her own desperate way. So she took them off and, ran barefoot. And I could sense her desperation, her mama bear instincts. So I knew I had to, capture that.
Liz, I know that you were out there too. I think you were there maybe once we'd had an idea of what was going on and people were going to the church to lay flowers. What was one of the most memorable images to you that you'd taken during last week's shooting?
That day, I was dispatched to Hennepin County Medical Center, so I wasn't at the school on that day. But on Friday, I was dispatched to the school to get some photos of the memorials. And I had been functioning on auto drive since Wednesday, and on Friday, I met a young lady. Her name is Ellie, 11-year-old, and I was shooting with a long lens and kind of observed her, and her mother was hugging her. She was just weeping, not just, you're crying with tears coming down the eyes, but she was weeping out loud. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the first time that it really hit me. And I went up to her and to get her name and her mother's name and asked that if it was okay that I published the photo. And she just, wept, saying, I'm so sad. And, it made me sad. I had lived in the area for 5 years, and my daughter went to school just a few blocks away from that school, and I had some connections to Annunciation as well, because I used to go to church there when I lived nearby, and my daughter and I would walk to the church and go to church on Sundays. So it hit me that this little girl was so profoundly affected by it, and she wasn't connected directly to the school.
Now, I know you said that you asked if it was okay to publish these photos. And my question for you and Rich, how do you, you're going there as your full selves, your people, parents, mothers. How do you kind of approach taking pictures of people in these very sensitive, very emotional times? What are some of the things that you do to approach people, and how do you navigate that?
Well, the woman who ran towards the school with her sandals off, actually a friend of hers contacted me on Instagram and knew her identity and revealed it to me. And, I checked with them and said, do you think she'd be willing to talk to the paper? And then she responded saying, like, she's glad that the photo is out there, but she didn't want to be identified because she didn't want to have to deal with the notoriety of it.
Sure.
So even though I know her identity, I have to, I'm respecting that and not, revealing it to anyone. If she feels up to speaking to the media, to the Star Tribune, then, it should be in her court.
Right. So you normally ask in those situations. Obviously, you have to identify somebody if they're identifiable, right? So you had to ask for their names. Is there anything else that you do to try to be sensitive to the fact that they're going through something?
With a situation like that, I tend to tread it lightly, and often shoot with a longer lens when I'm further away. And when I see that, it's a potential shot that could be used in publication, I go up and I ask for permission to get their names first. And sometimes we get some pushback and say, oh, we don't want our names or we don't want our picture published. And we respect that.
So just those images themselves say so much. How do you do that though? Like, how do you know this picture, or do you know when you take a picture if it's going to actually be great, or do you just take a bunch of pictures and hope something is there, or how do you kind of go about figuring out what to focus on?
Well, you're looking for what we would call the decisive moment. I think the photo that Rich took is the decisive moment of the entire incident, and it provoked a lot of emotion, especially with mothers, because we as mothers, we know that instinctive to protect our children, and we go through any lengths and
run to danger.
And we saw ourselves in that image. And those are images that we're looking for. Sometimes they happen right in front of us, and you just know, especially with experience, that, that's the photo we'd like to capture.
Early on in my career, I would get really nervous in situations like this. Like, for example, the collapse of the 35W bridge. I was on the scene, but I was extremely nervous. And also during George Floyd, because it was so new and different. I was able to stay mostly calm, just understanding the gravity of the situation and just relying on my instincts and life experience and trying to put myself in the people's shoes.
The stories that we do, like he said, the 35W bridge, George Floyd, the heightened emotions, the heart rate going up, trying to navigate people, trying to navigate police, trying to navigate everything at the same time, to get that decisive moment and to tell the story through images.
No, it's traumatic. It's traumatic. How do you guys take care of yourselves? Do you do something after assignments?
After the actual day of the shooting, I wasn't too much involved with the follow-up, and Liz did a great job with that. And so I was actually kind of glad that I wasn't involved in that. It gave me a break and time to reflect. And I caught a couple of the videos of the children's testimonies from being inside the church, and, that helped me process the abstractive nature of the first day, because I didn't really see or hear what happened inside the church. So that helped me process. On the day you cover a spot news event, you're usually able to do your job, and, afterwards you might feel like, well, it wasn't so bad, in terms of doing the job technically. A few days later, it does hit you about the gravity of what happened, and it stops being somewhat abstract event in terms of like just images that you produce, but then you start realizing the stories, the voices behind what happened. For example, I watched a video of one of the boys who credited his friend for covering him during the shooting and protecting him, and it almost brought me to tears. I mean, started getting, choked up. There's so many stories behind what happened, and it's good to acknowledge that.
Well, both of you, I mean, your work, it touches a lot of people, and I really appreciate the work that you guys do, and I'm glad that you're taking care of yourselves as well. But again, amazing work last week. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole.
We'll take a little break here. When we come back, we're talking with two super fans of one of the hottest streaming shows right now. Come on back.
If you like Worth It, you should know it's just a tiny taste of all that the Minnesota Star Tribune has to offer. We've got an all-access pass to everything Minnesota, from outdoor adventures to the hottest food spots you've never heard of. From puzzles and games to the best concerts and happenings around the state. It's all here all the time. So subscribe to the Minnesota Star Tribune. It's a great deal. Go to startribune.com/worthit to subscribe. That's worth it to subscribe, all one word. This is an ad by BetterHelp. We've all had that epic rideshare experience. Halfway through the trip, you know their heartbreak, their career path, and they know your aspirations to go find yourself in Portugal. It's human. We're all looking for connection, for someone to listen. But sometimes the people we spill our hearts to aren't exactly equipped to help us through it. With over a decade of data-backed experience from helping millions of people, BetterHelp matches you with a therapist based on your needs and goals. No asking for recommendations or endless scrolling through listings. Simply answer a few questions online and you'll be matched with a therapist, often in as little as 48 hours. Join over 5 million people worldwide who've trusted BetterHelp for their mental health and well-being. Get a therapist who gets you. Visit BetterHelp.com for 10% off your first month.
So this summer, I've been binging some K-dramas like I usually do, but I know a lot of you have been watching a teen drama called The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. One of those rapt viewers is our very own columnist, Laura Ewan. She's here with fellow fan, digital designer Anna Boone to talk about why adults are so into young adult romances. Laura, Anna, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be a fun one. So I admit I haven't actually watched this show, but I read that the first 2 episodes of the current season had 25 million viewers. And that includes you two, apparently, right?
Yeah. We're among the masses.
You're among the masses. So Laura, tell me about the story. Like, what's the basic situation?
Okay, well, it is about a love triangle, but what makes it interesting is that the triangle involves 2 brothers and a girl. And so the story is about this girl named Belly. Yes, that is the protagonist's name. And she has spent her entire life summering in this fictional town that is kind of like what I imagine Martha's Vineyard to be, or the Hamptons. And she comes at the invitation of her mom's best friend and her family. And she is the mother of the 2 boys that I mentioned. So it's kind of like this ugly duckling story where she's sort of awkward and nerdy, and then one summer she turns pretty.
All of a sudden, like, she doesn't have glasses and she's like a supermodel.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Clark Kent Superman type of thing. So, I mean, yes, there are a lot of tropes involved, but that's kind of what makes the story so irresistible.
So this is a love triangle. People are really taking sides. What's going on here?
People do feel very strongly. There's a Twitter personality, Baldan Dowd. I don't know if anybody follows Baldan Dowd, but she was talking about, like, unfortunately, we do live in a 2-party system, and you do have to pick one or the other. Like,
Team Conrad or Team
there is
Jeremiah.
no third party.
Right.
That's how this is. Yeah. I fall very strongly on Team Conrad.
Same.
Yeah.
Hard
And these are, I'm sorry, these are the two brothers that are
These
fighting.
are the brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you guys explain which one is which?
They kind of have opposite personalities. So Team Jeremiah is kind of the party guy. He's like a golden retriever, eager to please, just a simple, arguably shallow kind of guy. And then Conrad is like deep and brooding. He's emotionally challenging because he can't say what he wants to say, which causes, 3 seasons worth of heartache for poor Belly.
Okay. Wow, I feel like you really know these these characters, these people. And so which team are you guys on?
Conrad. There's only one answer.
So if you had a friend that was the other brother, would that cause some rifts or something?
Yes. I actually feel sometimes I'll get TikToks from people who are Team Jeremiah and I'll see these edits and I'm like, I just feel like I'm in a different world. I'm like, in what world are we finding this romantic?
Really?
I find their whole relationship very off-putting.
Well, I have one good friend who is on Team Jeremiah, and I kind of think, I guess if you're a parent, sometimes you watch it through the eyes of a parent, and at least for the first 2 seasons, you just see how Belly keeps getting jilted by Conrad. And Conrad was her, like, OG crush, right? So she has summered with these boys her entire life and has had feelings for Conrad starting at age 10 or whatever.
So sometimes you're thinking from like this is not a healthy relationship
exactly.
kind of.
Yeah. And it's like, that Jeremiah, except for, well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but there was one major disappointing mistake he made in season 3. But for the most part, he's there for her, like he's going to show up. And Conrad keeps pushing her away. So I think from the viewpoint of a mom, you could see why you'd want your kid to be with someone like Jeremiah.
So I'm also need to point out this is supposed to be for teenagers, right? And I'm not trying to like call out our ages, but we're all driving and drinking ages in here. So, but it's not just teens that are watching this, right? Do you guys have friends that are also watching this as well?
I watch this every week with my best friend. The place is called Cousins. We always say we're going to go to Cousins.
Wait, it's a bar called Cousins?
No, we just call it that since it's the beach.
Oh, gotcha, Cousins.
But it's normally just our living room.
Laura's like, where is this? I'll meet you there.
No, but I have seen videos of people doing watch parties for it in bars and stuff and cheering, which seems fun.
Yeah. No, that's right, Nicole. I saw a line in the New York Times where it said, it quoted an analytics firm who said that even though it's intended for teenagers, the main audience is actually women ages 25 to 54.
54?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the draw, you think, here? What makes this show special?
It's kind of a timeless story. I mean, the love triangle. I also grew up watching like One Tree Hill, Gilmore Girls. Like it feels very in line.
All the
with
CW
that.
shows.
Yeah.
All the CW, like Vampire Diaries.
Absolutely.
Yes. So yeah, I don't know. It's just easy to fall into. The music is really good.
Oh, it's so good.
They spend a lot on Taylor Swift, but beyond that, there's also really good music in there.
Well, they also, I think it's intentional that how they've gone after older viewers because in one moment of heartbreak, I swear to God, they had the Cranberries song "Linger" on, which took me back to when I was crying in bed over a burned love interest.
Oh.
So I think they definitely know their market. But I do think that it's either nostalgia, like Anna said, nostalgia for these series that we grew up on, or nostalgia for our own first loves. And there's this phenomenon called the reminiscence bump. And it's a psychological occurrence that refers to how we tend to remember things that happened to us during adolescence because our brain is going through big changes and we also experience lots of emotion during adolescence.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So there's just something universal about, exploring these deep feelings that are just there, but we've kind of suppressed over the years and these experiences that almost everybody has gone through. As well as I think there's something interesting about the narrative of the summer house, the summer lake house or how we spend our summers. There's just something magical that can take us back to youth.
Does Conrad remind you of a past boyfriend or something?
I don't have a Did you have a Conrad?
I did have a Conrad, and I was telling my husband, I was like, oh my God, this main character, his eyes are just like one of my first boyfriends. And he's like, man, you are living vicariously through this show. And I said, you have no idea.
Oh my gosh, how did that conversation go?
No, he supports.
He supports. He gets you he's like, this is your time, this is your me time.
I'm not a real big connoisseur of YA teen romances, but if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to go with the one that is a hit among 25 to 50-year-old women, right?
And you're a little bit closer to this age demographic than us. Do you get nostalgic when you see some of this? Is there something that speaks to you in the show?
Yeah, I guess I do feel nostalgic watching it. I really like the relationship between the moms, too.
Yes.
That was really great in the first couple seasons as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's the summer house, like you said, the idea of it's what you would always want is a house to go back to all the time.
Yeah, this family is filthy rich. So it's
I was like, what kind of summer houses did you guys have? I went to camp at my grandma's house.
No, I was a latchkey kid. I was at home. But I mean, if we were to pick a fictional setting where you could have true escapism, it would be a house like this.
In Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I've never even been to Martha's Vineyard.
Where is that at?
That's definitely, it's escapism. That's the...
Yeah.
And then you get to that transformation, right? That's you always want that, the ugly duckling to beautiful princess who's getting fought over by two handsome brothers. I mean, come on, that sounds. I'm gay. That sounds fun to me. That sounds fun.
Yeah,
in this world, there's no one else for her except one of these brothers. It has to be one
them.
or the other.
Yeah,
you have to suspend a lot of disbelief for that.
Exactly.
But once you're in, you're in.
Doesn't need to make sense. Okay, so maybe I can get on this train, or maybe I'm going to wait for the whole thing to come out, and then I'm going to get an Amazon Prime membership just for that week, and then I'm just going to binge the whole thing, right? I'll send the wife and kids somewhere else, and I'll be I'm just going to be there.
That's what I did. So.
It works. Well, thanks so much, guys. This is so fun. I can't wait to watch this. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break, but hang around because next up, I'm talking to a living legend. Many Minnesotans will know my next guest. He's practically a living legend, been on the pod a few times already. I'm talking about Jon Bream. If you don't know him, here's a quick take from his bio. He has interviewed the king of pop, Michael Jackson, the queen of soul, Aretha Franklin, and Prince, as well as Bob Dylan, U2, 3 Beatles, 4 Rolling Stones, and all of Maroon 5. Along the way, he has smoked pot with Paul McCartney, watched the Grammys with Stevie Wonder, walked the streets of New York with Bruce Springsteen, gone to McDonald's with New Kids on the Block, and ate at some ritzy restaurant with Tina Turner. This fall, Jon celebrates 50 years as music critic here at the Minnesota Star Tribune. He's here with me now so we can dig into some of these stories and more. Hey, Jon.
Good to be with you again, Nicole.
Always good to be with you, Jon. We're here to talk about 50 years on the job, which is, just saying that sounds like wow. But I wonder if we can go back to the days before you actually had this job. What made you want to be a music critic?
Well, I worked at the University of Minnesota Daily. I was in the news department. I was the managing editor. I had a falling out with the editor-in-chief, so I quit. I had no idea what I was going to do next. And a good friend of mine was the arts and entertainment editor, and he said, hey, I need an assistant to write headlines, copy edit, that sort of thing. I said, okay, I'll do that. Then I realized, hey, we're getting free concert tickets. We're getting free albums. I'm in. And then I thought, I could land at a big-time city daily newspaper faster as a music critic than I could as a news reporter. I wouldn't have to go to Red Wing or Rochester, nothing against those papers or those cities. But that's what most of my colleagues were doing when they graduated from the University of Minnesota. So I went right from the University of Minnesota Daily to the Minneapolis Star, which was the evening paper.
Do you actually play instruments?
I play the radio. I started on AM, I progressed to FM, and now I'm at Sirius XM.
Okay. So obviously, as a music critic being the word, you have to critique things. How do you go back and forth being able to do that? You have to get access to people. Do you get into fights with artists? Do they not want to talk to you because of what your criticism was the week before?
That has happened, yes. If you know the artist personally, sometimes they can take it personally, but I'm not here to be friends with any of the artists. I'm here to give my honest opinion, and I'm here to represent the readers. And so, I tell it like it is, I guess.
Tell it like it is. And so when you approach a show, do you approach it as like a die-hard fan would approach it, or do you try to approach it as somebody that maybe never heard that music before?
I'm definitely not the die-hard fan. I'm coming in trying to provide perspective and context for the artist and to let people know if you went there, did you get your money's worth, or if you didn't go, what you missed.
Right. And so on the way, you've had so many of these incredible experiences, access to people that I've only seen on posters and on MTV and stuff like that. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, obviously, I'm a big Janet Jackson fan. I'm curious about your experience with them, especially when they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022. What was that like?
Well, it was interesting. The paper didn't have the budget. It was the end of the year. They didn't have the budget to send me. And I said, I'm going anyway. I've covered these guys for their whole career. I'm owning this story. I owe it to them. I owe it to our readers. So I paid my own way to go. When we go and cover these big events like that, we're not in the hall. We're in a press room watching it on closed circuit, and then they come back and they do a press conference.
So, because where was this? Where's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
This particular induction was at the theater that's at LA Live. I don't know the corporate name of it right now. So it's a smaller theater. It holds maybe 3,000 to 5,000, something like that. So I'm backstage in some press room, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis came back with Janet. And you get them they talk a little bit, and Janet had this humongous hair on top of her head.
And that was the Control. It was supposed to be reminiscent of the Control album, right?
Right, but it was even bigger.
It was like Control and Pleasure Principle. It was all the albums.
Yeah. And Janet has a very soft voice, as you know. So I'm trying to get this down on my recorder. And then they come off stage, and I've known Jimmy and Terry for like 40-some years.
Right.
And so they know me. Janet, I've interviewed her, but I don't know that she knows my face necessarily. So I corner them after they get off stage, because you want something exclusive for the Star Tribune. You don't want the same quotes that everyone's getting.
Oh, cool.
So I'm interviewing them for a couple minutes, and I'm trying to transcribe this interview that I've done. And Janet speaks so softly, you can't hear. So I decided I have to leave this room. Where can I go in a quiet space?
Because you're listening on your...
I'm listening on earbuds.
Yeah, you can't hear.
and I have a laptop with me. So I go into the men's room, and they have like double... men's room,
The bathroom.
The restroom, yes. So I'm sitting in the entryway, right?
These are nice bathrooms, it sounds like.
Very nice bathrooms. Okay. I'm wearing a sport coat and pants, not jeans. I'm sitting on the floor, transcribing, typing away, listening to the thing, because it was the only quiet place I could find. And, this is a democratic place. So the stars are coming into the restroom. So Jimmy Jam comes in, takes a picture of me sitting on the floor. He figured out what I was doing and sends it to me. And then LL Cool J walks up to me and he says, "What are you doing, man?" And
LL Cool J just walks up to you as on his way to the John. It's like, "What are you doing?"
Didn't know whether
I'm trying to listen to Janet.
I didn't know if he was coming or going. I said, "I'm just transcribing, an interview for my story. I'm on a deadline, blah blah blah." He says, "Much respect, man," and he daps me.
Oh my God, that is so excellent. And what is she like? I think Terry during that induction, that was the most I've ever heard Terry talk. It was like I've never heard Terry Lewis actually say much more than 2 words, but like when he was being inducted, he had like a whole speech. Do you remember what they ended up saying to you during that interview?
I don't remember the specifics of the interview, but I always said Jimmy talks in many paragraphs and Terry talks in a sentence. But Terry is a man full of wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, he gives you these pithy comments as if he was a preacher or something. And Jimmy goes on and on and on. I agree. I did make a comment that was the most anyone had heard Terry Lewis talk. I mean, I've maybe engaged him talking about sports or something, and he'll go on. But when you're talking about music or the music business, he's pretty concise in what he has to say.
Now, I've sat on the floor to transcribe stuff too as a reporter, but I never got to like dab with LL Cool J though. So I that's pretty cool.
You weren't in the men's room.
I wasn't in the men's. That's where it's at, apparently. So I know it's practically against the law for talking music not to give some kind of Prince story. I know back in 2013, you got an email from Prince's publicist. Can you tell that story of what happened?
Sure. At 3:30 in the afternoon on my deadline day, I was trying to get an interview with Third Eye Girl, his new band.
Yes.
And at 3:30, the email arrives. Can you be at Denver tonight? And maybe you can talk to Third Eye Girl for sure, and maybe Prince will talk to you. I confirm with Prince's publicist, that I'm going to go. She comes back to me an hour later, says, wait a minute, don't book that flight.
What?
Prince is going to charter a jet for you to come down.
What? Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I go to the terminal that's in between the two terminals, the executive terminal.
I didn't know there's a terminal between two terminals. That's like a Harry Potter kind of thing. Is it it's like a magic terminal between the two terminals? I did not know that.
It's for private planes. So I get out there and they ask for your ID, your driver's license. That your name is not on any manifest for anything going. I go, okay, what's going on now? Then I get a call as I'm standing at the desk wondering what's going on here. Get a call from his road manager. Oh, we couldn't get a plane. Sorry, even Prince can't get a private jet on 2 hours' notice.
No.
So I'm flying commercial.
So wait, you had to go back to the commercial?
Yeah, so they tell me we booked on a commercial flight. So I go over to the regular terminal, and there's a commercial flight that gets me into Denver, and he was playing 2 shows that night. So I get into Denver between the 2 shows. And then, I've got a driver, I've got an itinerary, and I go over to the venue, see the second show, and then they say, well, now your driver's going to take you to this party for the band afterwards, and Prince will come and talk to you. Okay, it's like 2 in the morning now. His manager, he's got this manager who just graduated from college, USC at this time. She's like 21 or 22, and she comes over to me and hands me her cell phone and says, Prince wants to talk to you. So I pick up the cell phone. I go to a quiet part. We're in this.
So you're
we're
on
in
the
a club.
Okay.
We're in a club. Okay. And the band is down here partying. There's only like 10 people here, maybe. Prince wants to know what I thought of the show. He says, okay, I'm editing a video right now at my hotel room. I'll be over in a little bit. At 4:00, he walks in.
Floats in on a cloud of gold and sparkles.
Struts in a turquoise outfit. Okay.
Good.
With a cane. So he's styling, definitely. He's Prince. You
He's
expect
Prince.
anything else. So, he sits down with us and we talk. So I talked to him basically from 4 in the morning till 6:20 in the morning.
What do you talk about? The show?
No, all kinds of music, all sorts of things. We talk basketball, just all, I've known him. You got to realize I'd known him. This was 2013. I've known him since 77.
Wow.
So you just talk about things. You talk about music or whatever. And of course, this is Prince. No tape recorder, no notebooks. You're just having a conversation. So at 6:20, he says, I got to go. Okay, now I know it's time to leave. I go outside. My driver's there. It's this bright sun. You're in Denver, and it was blinding. And so the driver drives me back to the hotel. It's 6:30-ish in the morning, and I have an 11 o'clock flight. So I sit down and I write down everything I can remember that we talked about.
How do you remember anything from 2.5 hours?
You just focus and concentrate.
That's nuts. You didn't have a little. You can tell me now. You didn't write.
No.
You didn't write on your hand.
Nope. I didn't excuse myself to go to the restroom either because he might have left.
Put something in your shoe.
Yeah.
Some kind of notes.
I mean, there's been times when I've had interviews at Paisley Park where I'd go into the restroom and write down stuff, but I didn't hear. I went back to the hotel, wrote down everything I could remember about what we talked about, ordered room service. The room service guy comes in. He says, man, are you a neat freak? You made your own bed? I said, no, I didn't sleep. I've been up all night dealing with Prince.
It almost sounds too outlandish to believe, but knowing you, this is actually a true story.
I didn't make up any
You
of
didn't
it.
make up any of this. Are there any shows that you're looking forward to this fall?
I'm looking forward to Farm Aid, which will be here on September 20th at the Gopher Football Stadium with Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, Billy Strings, a whole bunch of other people, Kenny Chesney. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Prince musical, Purple Rain.
Yes.
Coming in October. And the day after that is that Beatle guy, Paul McCartney.
That Beatle guy. Do you think you got another 10 years in you, Jon? I mean, I don't know. Have you even thought about retiring or?
Well, I've never had a 10-year plan. I've never had a 5-year plan. And right now I have no exit plan.
If you want to, team up with me, we could do this. We can do this every week. I don't know. I think you have enough stories for.
Yeah, what was the expression? Show me the money.
I don't have the money. I'll get you a pop.
I don't drink, so.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, we'll find something else. Well, Jon, thanks so much for joining me, and congrats again. 50 years. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before we go, we have a Minnesota goodbye, so I was hoping you can stick around for that. Jon, what's one thing from your week that's been quintessentially Minnesotan?
This is the same thing I do every year, so it has to be quintessential Minnesotan. I go to the Minnesota State Fair on the last day. I've been doing that for decades and decades. No one used to go on the last day. It used to be me and my family and a few other people. I was there on Monday, and about 6 o'clock, I was sitting down by one of the gates, and people were pouring in at 6 at night. The place closes at 9. And it was young people. I'm thinking, don't any of these kids have to go to school tomorrow?
The last
at the fair.
Big bang of the summer. Really.
Yeah, and it's just become a Minnesota tradition, I think, to go to the fair on the last day and stay to the bitter end.
Stay to the end. My moment, I went apple picking. I love going apple picking. I've never done that outside of Minnesota. And one of the things, I know you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do this. Don't do this. Is I love getting. There's always an apple that doesn't fit in the bag, and you don't want to waste it. You don't want to throw it on the ground.
It's not like Sweet Martha's where they pile the cookies up.
Yeah. You're trying to fit it. You're trying to fit it. It's not fitting, and you're like, this is a good apple. I don't want to throw it on the ground. You're not really supposed to eat them because they have pesticides. Like, you should wash your apples. Wash your apples. But I don't know. There's something about, like, I always do this. I just, a little rub on the, the shoulder, kiss it up to God, pray for the best. And, that first hand-picked apple while you're strolling through the orchard and everyone takes a bite of it and you toss it over on the side. I don't know. This is quintessentially Minnesota. And that's how I start my fall. So it was lovely. Thanks again, Jon. See you next week.
Thank you.
Worth It is a co-production of the Minnesota Star Tribune and Lemonada Media. It's hosted by me, Nicole Norfleet. The production team includes Melissa Townsend, Chrissy Pease, and Tiffany Bowie, with help from Zoe Jackson and Casey Darnell. This series is mixed by Johnny Vince Evans with technical help from Matt Gilmer. Our theme was composed by Dan Malad. Lemonada's Senior Vice President of Weekly Content and Production is Steve Nelson, and the Star Tribune's Director of Audio and Video Initiatives is Jenny Pinkley. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax and Jessica Cordova-Kramer. Help others find our show by leaving us a rating and writing a review. Follow Worth It wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next week. Bye.